Good afternoon. Fire continues to smolder at 11 Thorncliffe Park Drive, the same building where flames forced hundreds of units to be evacuated late last year.
Toronto's fire chief provided an update on the situation roughly an hour ago, saying there's no timeline for when the fire might be put out. CTV's Beth Macdonell has been following the firefighting effort and joins us live with more. Beth.
Nathan, we learned from Fire Chief Jim Jessup that this is a new fire burning between the walls of these two condos and is not the same fire that burned here in November. I'm going to have you take a look now to the white column there, that scaffolding. That's where crews were doing remedial work to keep the condos safe from that previous fire. Jessup says the investigation from this new fire is complete and was caused by the work underway in there on the 7th floor. It started when crews were cutting into concrete, which ignited the material burning between the walls. Now, this new fire broke out around 11:30 a.m. yesterday at both 11 Thorncliffe Park and 21 Overley Boulevard. There are 400 units here. About 100 firefighters initially responded, yet residents were not evacuated like in November. Instead, they've been told to shelter in place, while crews say they continually monitor for the air quality. This monitoring is continuing throughout the day today while residents are in their homes. Last November, this fire burned for weeks, and this time the chief Jessup says that many lessons have been learned and crews hope to extinguish the fire as soon as possible.
The fire yesterday was the same fiberboard that caught fire again because of the material, because of the construction thing. So what you see in that expansion joint is 10 tests from the 12 stories down across width, the entire width. There's a lot of that material in there. And again, our primary focus right now is to extinguish it as quickly and expeditiously as possible.
We were aware that saws were going to be used to cut concrete, but there was a plan in place to address the situation with respect to the methodology that was going to be used. But again, we've asked for a more comprehensive review by the engineer who's overseeing the work, and to address any gaps that may potentially be found.
The city says a permit was in place for this recent remedial work to take place. Right now, all remedial work has been ordered to stop. Chief Jessup says there is no timeline right now for when the fire may be extinguished. Reporting live, I'm Beth Macdonell. Nathan, back to you.
Thank you, Beth. 11 schools in the city received bomb threats today. At least 2 schools, Bruce Junior Public and St. Augustine Seminary, were evacuated in response to the threats. However, Toronto police say they don't believe the threats are credible. However, an investigation is underway.
The RCMP has made several arrests and announced the seizure of nearly $3 million worth of drugs in a major operation in the GTA. Police say the 18-month-long investigation focused on a large-scale money laundering and drug trafficking operation. More than 30 search warrants were executed at multiple locations. 153 kilograms of cocaine, 10 kilograms of heroin, half a kilogram of ketamine, $1.6 million in cash, and an illegal gun were seized. 6 people are facing drug trafficking charges, while police are still searching for one suspect.
2 women have been found guilty of killing a boy they were trying to adopt.
Becky, Hamber, and Brandy Cooney were charged with first-degree murder in the death of a 12-year-old boy, as well as multiple charges related to the child's younger brother. CTV's Jon Woodward has been following this case, and he joins us now live from Milton with the big development. Jon.
Yeah, Michelle, there were gasps in the courtroom as Justice Conlon read out the verdict, announcing he was going to go farther than the charges of failing to provide the necessaries of life and assault and convict the couple of first-degree murder. Now, the details that were heard in that courtroom were awful. The older boy, known as L because of a publication ban, died in a barren room of the basement of the couple's home. So skinny, first responders didn't understand how he could be so small at 12 years old. His brother testified and described years of abuse. The couple said they did what they did to protect the kids from themselves. They took the kids to the doctors, but the judge just didn't buy it. It was an emotional morning for everyone in the courtroom.
I mean, it was just horrific. The things that came out are absolutely horrific. Nobody should have gone through what those kids went through.
He was so smart, and he had such an old soul, and he was such a great person. And it really hurts to know that he won't get his dreams. It's just not fair. The system is so broken.
It still affects me because I don't know what else I could have done to help these kids, and I don't know. I'm sure there's other kids that this happens to too, and there's not enough being done, and there needs to be change. There needs to be policy put in place. There needs to be funding from the government to protect kids because there isn't enough being done, and kids are suffering.
I believed at the very least we had achieved the objective of getting murder off the table, which requires intent and purpose to take another life. And His Honor disagreed with our position. So in that, I'm a little bit surprised at the outcome.
So you can hear there one of the couple's lawyers saying they do intend to explore the possibilities of an appeal on the grounds that they say there was no intent to kill the boy there, which is an element that's necessary in a murder conviction. But also on the courthouse steps, you heard a lot of spectators and people who had known these boys over the period of time say there must have been something that went systemically wrong here, and asking questions about why the children were allowed to be homeschooled, which removed them from the presence of other, perhaps more responsible adults, and why the medical care that they were provided wasn't able to step in before the boy died. So those are questions that we're going to be following up with the provincial government as well. Reporting live from Milton, I'm Jon Woodward. Back to you.
Thank you, John. A man has been arrested in connection with the theft of a ceremonial gong from a cancer center in Kitchener. A 44-year-old man has been charged with theft in connection with the disappearance of the gong, which is used by patients to mark the completion of their cancer treatment. While a suspect has been arrested, police say they are still looking for the missing gong.
Still to come, the Prime Minister has announced Canada's newest Governor General. We'll have more on Louise Arbour taking over the role a little later in the newscast. But first, the FIFA World Cup is set to arrive in the city next month, and preparations are underway to make the tournament as safe as possible.
Today, the mayor toured the Toronto Integrated Safety and Security Unit Area Command Center alongside the city's police chief. CTV 24's Steve Ryan was also along for that tour, and he joins us live now with more details. Steve.
Yeah, quite an impressive building, that's for sure, Michelle. It cost $12.5 million to build, and it was built for FIFA to enhance public safety during FIFA, and it will continue to be used at all other large events. This allows the police and its partners to monitor events in real time, and they can respond in real time as they see fit. Over 40 surveillance cameras will be used as part of this operation while they allow the games to take place, inspecting all kinds of people, millions of people to attend the city as a result. So this is done for safety enhancement. It's a build that was constructed, again, for the purposes of FIFA, but it will be used for other large events once FIFA is done. Here is reaction we got earlier on. Let's listen.
This is a state-of-the-art facility. It was built for FIFA, but in the future, it will serve as a legacy real-time operations center for the Toronto Police Service's day-to-day operations, and will be capable of supporting our major incident command structure, incorporating other police agency stakeholders for all the major events our city hosts every year.
In just over a month, Toronto welcomes the world, and when the world comes here, they need to feel safe. That work starts right here. This command center will bring together police, emergency services, health partners, and agencies from across all orders of government into one coordinated, real-time operations center. This kind of collaboration is needed to keep Toronto moving safely during the World Cup.
This operational plan will be the longest, most consecutive operational plan in the history of the Toronto Police. So once it starts, this plan will continue with their monitoring and covering any emergencies, if you will, until such time that the games end. Back to you.
CP24 Steve Ryan live for us in front of police headquarters. Thank you. Now, the memoir of a high-profile former Toronto police officer has sparked concerns about allegations of racism in the service. In his book, The High Road: Confessions of a Homicide Cop, former detective Hank Idzinga outlines some of his most significant cases, including the Bruce MacArthur investigation. He also alleges he witnessed systemic anti-Semitism, anti-Black racism, and homophobia within the Toronto Police Service. Today, Idzinga spoke about his decision to write the memoir.
I was asked to write a memoir, and that's exactly what this book is. It's a memoir. Here's my life story. Here's why I went into policing. Here's my early years of policing. Here's some great homicide stories, and here's what I dealt with as a unit commander of the homicide squad for the last several years of my career. So it forms part of my life. Yeah. Right, including those incidents when I was the unit commander, which is chapter 26 out of 27 chapters, really. There's a lot more to the book than just that. And it's not easy putting it out there now, but like I said, I've gotten a ton of support, including from retired officers and serving officers at many, many different ranks, saying, thank you for putting that out there and being our voice, and hopefully there is some positive change as a result.
In response to the allegations, Toronto Police Chief Myron Damque has stated there will be an investigation.
We have more news in a moment, but first, a live look at the city this afternoon as we talk about the forecast. Not as nice as we had yesterday with the sunshine, but still not too bad. Just some clouds, and there is rain expected. Lindsay Morrison has a look at the current conditions. Hey, Lindsay.
Hey, Nathan. Yeah, gone is the memory of yesterday with that beautiful sunshine and those temperatures in the 20s. It's a different day today. We're tracking a few rain showers already impacting areas like Sarnia, Bayfield, extending toward the Stayner area as well. Next couple of hours, we can expect a few raindrops here locally in Toronto, too. Temperature-wise, we've already reached our high. That happened early this morning. Now temperatures are cooling. We've got winds out of the west and the northwest for today, and already those winds are gusting to near 70 kilometers per hour in places. It was a windy day yesterday as well. Here's today at a glance. So temperature falling to about 14 degrees later this afternoon and then continuing to fall into the night tonight. We are also, as mentioned, looking at some showers. So we'll detail the timing of those and give you an idea of just how much rain is in the forecast through the day tomorrow. That's all ahead. But for now, Nathan and Michelle, I'll send it back to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. Ottawa's announced $1.5 billion in tariff relief for 3 key sectors impacted by U.S. levies.
CTV's Mike Lecouteur has details on which sectors were chosen and why.
U.S. tariffs of 50% on Canadian steel, aluminum, and copper has made it difficult for companies to not fold under the pressure, especially when you consider how reliant some are on the American market.
90% of what we manufacture crosses the border. So for us, what's happening is really critical to our business.
Many are hoping for an end to the trade war, but even senior cabinet ministers can't say if or when that will be.
You don't know, I don't know.
It's why the federal government is announcing a new $1 billion loan program for companies affected by the tariffs. The 3-year loans will be worth between $2 and $50 million, with the first year being interest-free.
Short term, our goal is to provide liquidities to companies in order for them to keep their workers.
Conservatives say loans aren't the answer.
We were reading this announcement today very concerned that there is no deal coming at all, and the Liberals have said nothing to the contrary.
There's also a sense that forestry and softwood lumber are being left out.
The industry needs as much support as industries that are located closer to Ottawa.
A 2024 report from the Auditor General criticized pandemic-era business loans for a lack of oversight, saying there was a lack of value for money. While Karen Hogan hasn't seen the details of this latest program, she did have this advice.
I would like to see that there is a way to measure that the intended outcomes are happening.
The government says there will be a process and scope for approving the loans with additional follow-up. Minister Jolie added the government is working on similar relief for the forestry and softwood lumber sectors. Mike Lecouteur, CTV News, Ottawa.
Prime Minister Mark Carney has announced Louise Arbour will serve as Canada's next Governor General. CTV's Rachel Aiello joins us live now from Ottawa with more on this. Rachel, she will be Canada's 31st Governor General. What do we know? Tell us more about who she is.
Yeah, absolutely, Michelle. So, Louise Arbour is a former Supreme Court justice in this country. She also served as the United Nations High Commissioner for Human Rights, also was a chief prosecutor at the International Criminal Court. So both an accomplished career in this country and abroad. Most recently, Canadians might recognize her name because she was tapped to conduct an independent investigation into the Canadian Armed Forces handling of military misconduct and harassment. And since that time, around 2021, wrapping up in 2022, she went into private practice, obviously now about to step back into public life. The Prime Minister, in announcing her appointment, said that Arbour is someone who embodies what the role requires, both sound judgment and an unwavering commitment to the rule of law, both, I think, ideologies that he is anticipating she will bring and embody in her own way into this role. Here's a bit more from Mark Carney on this appointment.
But the measure of her career is neither in the offices she has held nor the awards she's received. It's in the lives she has changed through her service. Survivors of genocide who saw justice in their lifetimes. Women in prisons in Canada whose conditions were improved because she said what no one else would say. Members of our armed forces who can serve today with greater dignity because of the report that she wrote.
Now, the current Governor General, Mary Simon's 5-year term is coming to an end. Tell us about the timing and the handover process.
Yeah, absolutely. So Mary Simon served for the typical 5 years. So we're anticipating her 5 years is coming up this July. Still waiting on clarification on exactly when that handover will happen. But the Prime Minister did confirm that he did advise the Crown that he wanted to pick Louise Arbour as the next Governor General. And King Charles III accepted that appointment. So it is done and dusted. Buckingham Palace has signed off on this. Louise Arbour will be stepping into that role as Canada's 31st Governor General, and we're anticipating that transition will happen over the summer. Watching to see as well what this looks like in terms of where she resides. Is it at Rideau Hall, where typically that has been the case? There is another residence in Quebec City. Waiting to see as well who she might be bringing along with her, what priorities she might be taking, but this is going to be in a transition. Saying farewell, and as Carney said, thanking Mary Simon for her established accomplishments, her service to this country, championing issues like Indigenous reconciliation, and now welcoming in Arbour as Mark Carney's first pick for Governor General.
And she's got this lengthy legal background. What more does she bring to office?
Yeah, so she was asked a few questions during the press conference today and handled them, can I say, aptly. Obviously, she has an accomplished career where she has handled a number of pressing judicial issues, investigating war crimes, looking at the military in this country. And I think that's where we're going to start to see some reaction come up today on Parliament Hill to her ability, or any possible concerns about her ability to take on a more statesman impartial role, given her intricate knowledge of some of these files, whether this is something, for example, she will now become the Commander-in-Chief of the Canadian Armed Forces, a military unit that she just had not so long ago wrapped up investigating and sent a myriad of recommendations for work that still needed to be done. But I think one area where she's going to have an easier time than Mary Simon is going to be on the language front. She is fluently bilingual in both English and French, something that Mary Simon wasn't. And so we're anticipating a bit more of a positive reception for her in Francophone communities in this country.
CTV's Rachel Aiello, live for us in Ottawa. Thank you.
Thanks.
Ceremonies will be held across the country today to mark Red Dress Day in honor of missing and murdered Indigenous women and girls. Métis artist Jamie Black inspired the use of red dresses to represent missing and murdered people with an exhibit in 2010. The Chiefs of Ontario say the ceremonies held today will honor those who have lost their lives, while also calling for justice and systemic change. Well, to other news, separatists in Alberta say they've submitted a petition with enough signatures to force the province to consider a vote on leaving Canada.
However, as CTV's Jordan Canagan tells us, there are still major hurdles facing the separation movement.
43 boxes handed over to Elections Alberta with signatures supporting a referendum on Alberta separation.
We took a picture of canvassers and we put it different picture in front of every one of our boxes because this represents all of you.
Stay Free Alberta needed 178,000 signatures. Organizers say they got more than 300,000.
I think that you should be able to give leaders instruction, and I think that that's the purpose of it.
Elections Alberta still needs to verify the petition. That won't happen until after a court ruling on a challenge from Alberta First Nations groups. The movement is also facing scrutiny after a massive data leak was posted online by another separatist group.
The scale of this is truly unprecedented in Alberta's history. It's the volume, the size of the breach, the number of the people that are affected. It's massive. And there's a real risk of harm.
Alberta's electors list contains the information of nearly 3 million people.
The voters list doesn't stand alone. It's bad, but it becomes really dangerous because it can be matched with all the fragments about your personal information that we've been leaving on the internet for the last, 25 years or whatever it is.
And the former RCMP investigator warns that trove of information could make it into the hands of criminal groups and foreign agents.
The potential that this breach of data creates is possibly the greatest risk I've seen to personal security, finances, and safety I've ever come across in all my years of service.
The voter list leak is now at the center of several independent investigations. Jordan Cadigan, CTV News, Calgary.
The World Health Organization says it now suspects there may have been human-to-human transfer of Hantavirus aboard a cruise ship currently anchored off the coast of Cape Verde.
What's happening right now is very real for all of us here. There's a lot of uncertainty, and that's the hardest part.
4 Canadians are among the 149 people aboard the ship. 3 passengers have died, while 3 more have become seriously ill in a suspected outbreak of the rare virus. The World Health Organization is working under the assumption that there has been human-to-human spread of the virus, and the first people to become ill were infected before they got on that ship.
We do believe that there may be some human-to-human transmission that's happening among the really close contacts, the husband and wife, people who've shared cabins, etc. So again, our assumption is that has happened, and that's why we are operating and working with the ship to make sure that anyone who is symptomatic, anyone caring for patients is wearing full personal protective equipment.
Hantavirus is carried by rodents and is usually spread through contact with the animals or their droppings. Spread of the virus between humans is considered rare. It remains unclear how the virus made its way onto the ship.
Turning to the war in the Middle East, U.S. Secretary of War Pete Hegseth says the American operation to protect commercial ships in the Strait of Hormuz is temporary.
Project Freedom is defensive in nature, focused in scope, and temporary in duration, with one mission: protecting innocent commercial shipping from Iranian aggression. American forces won't need to enter Iranian waters or airspace. It's not necessary. We're not looking for a fight, but Iran also cannot be allowed to block innocent countries and their goods from an international waterway.
During a briefing this morning, Hegseth also claimed Iran has been the aggressor during the fragile ceasefire. The U.S. chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff says Iran attacked American forces more than 10 times since the start of the ceasefire.
The ceasefire is being tested by a dispute over control of the Strait of Hormuz. The United Arab Emirates says it has come under attack by Iran for the first time since the temporary truce began. The country's defense ministry says Iran launched missiles and drones yesterday, setting fire to an oil refinery. 3 Indian nationals were injured in the attack. The UAE says its air defenses are responding to new Iranian missiles and drone attacks today. They come after U.S. President Donald Trump launched a new effort to guide stranded tankers out of key shipping routes. Trump says the U.S. military fired on Iranian forces and sank 7 small boats.
The Strait of Hormuz needs to be reopened. Freedom of navigation needs to be reestablished.
The recent cracks in the ceasefire have prompted the United Nations to reiterate its call to open the critical shipping route. The U.S. military says 2 ships were able to leave yesterday, but according to tracking data, traffic in the strait is still slow.
Gas prices are set to rise again tomorrow. Dan McTagg with Canadians for Affordable Energy is predicting a 7-cent jump at the pumps overnight. That would push prices at most GTA stations to $1.96 a liter. He also says diesel is expected to rise by 5 cents a liter amid the ongoing conflict between the U.S. and Iran in the Strait of Hormuz.
Every day, your prices go up. You'll hear a comment from the U.S. administration saying they will do this or they will do that regarding the Straits of Hormuz. The bigger issue is the amount of shortage that we have, a supply shock. It's 1.2 billion barrels that have been accumulated that we have to try to catch up on. It's going to take a long time to do that. In the meantime, it means higher prices as we head towards the $2 a liter threshold, and that's likely just around the corner.
After tomorrow's jump, McTagg says gas prices could drop by 3 cents on Thursday.
Well, after a mild day yesterday and a seasonal one today, our temperature trend is on a downward trajectory. But through the night tonight, temperatures will be near normal for at least one more night. 6 is our forecast overnight low. 7 is the average. And yes, we do have some wet weather on the way. Notice this disturbance. Any slight change in the track of this one is going to impact who gets a little more or who gets a little less in the way of rainfall. But we'll show you what the models are suggesting right now when CTV News at noon returns. Stay with us.
When you see it happen, send it to CTV News. Text 10400 from your screen to ours. Text 10400.
Well, not a bad start to the day. Sure, it's not what we had yesterday, but relatively comfortable conditions. We're just expecting, a little wet weather as we do in May.
Yeah, it's not so bad. And also knowing that we're gradually improving, and yesterday was a sign of that. It's a good feeling.
We do have more days like yesterday to look forward to in the weeks to come. Just this next week, and that might have been the nicest day of the week. Let's put it that way. But yeah, we do have a little bit of wet weather in the forecast. It's not looking like a washout. In fact, depending on how things go with this system moving in, it could end up being a total miss for the city of Toronto, or we could get some measurable rain through the overnight hours. So let's show you what looks to be in store. Weather is brought to you by the Presler Law Firm, Injury Lawyers. You don't pay unless they win. Yeah, not a bad start to the day today. We have had a little more cloud cover, but temperatures were still quite comfortable early on. Not the dog days of summer or anything, but temperatures in the upper teens and mostly cloudy skies today. That will be the case through the rest of the afternoon as well. And we are tracking some wet weather already in parts of the province. Let me show you on the satellite and radar what we're dealing with. Who's getting the rain? Well, it's areas still to our north and to our west. Southwest also now starting to see some rain push into the Windsor area. Light rain at that. And yes, we have seen an increase in cloud cover around the GTA. Watch how this plays out. So we've got this front, we've got a low pressure system, which for the most part is going to remain stateside. But if you're in areas like Hamilton over toward Niagara Falls and then Kingston, you are more likely to get clipped with some heavier, steadier rain through the night tonight. But first, there's this afternoon. So around 4 p.m., we look to be dealing with a little bit of wet weather here locally in the GTA. And then 9 p.m., this model run, weather model, shows that we are expecting to be dry in Toronto, but rainy from Hamilton over toward Niagara. And then right along that north shoreline of Lake Erie, there's Kingston, again, getting clipped also. Through the overnight, it does look as though we are going to get back into some wet weather here in Toronto, too. It tapers off by tomorrow morning, some spotty showers in its wake. And then the chance of showers continues right through to the end of Wednesday. Thursday, a brighter, sunnier day, but the chance of an afternoon shower once again. And then Friday, looks like we're going to be back into some periods of wet weather. But again, it's not a whole lot of rain, maybe 5 millimeters for us in Toronto, closer to 25 if you're joining us from areas like St. Catharines, Welland, Fort Erie. It is 15 degrees at this hour at Pearson Airport. Overnight tonight, we drop to about 6 degrees, which again is seasonal. It's tomorrow that we start to go cooler than normal, below seasonal, if you will. 12 degrees is the high, 17 degrees is our average temperature this time of year, and we look to be below that right through to the end of the week. Again, Thursday's not a bad looking day. Over the weekend, we're going to keep an eye on the possibility of some wet weather, especially on Sunday, which is also Mother's Day. So still a few days for that forecast to improve. Temperatures cooler than normal, but at least in the teens for a daytime high. That's the weather for now. Michelle, over to you.
Thank you, Lindsay. The Blue Jays pushing for a win as they continue their series with the Tampa Bay Rays tonight.
This lends itself to his strategy. 2-2 is line and down in left field. Pinyango got a good job. He'll get the wave.
The Jays scored in the top of the third inning last night, but that was all the offense they could muster. They ended up losing the game 5-1. First pitch for tonight's game is set for 6:40 in St. Petersburg, Florida. Kevin Gausman gets the start for the Jays.
2 days after his team was eliminated from the playoffs, the Toronto Raptors head coach met with reporters today. Darko Rakovic talked about areas where there's room for improvement.
We did a good job this year with defense and the way how we're guarding the ball. I think us having more of a paint protection is something that we can take a look at. I think to continue to develop offensive side of the ball with individual improvement of players on their shooting is going to be very, very important for us. So those are the main things for us to focus on.
The coach says players being in elite condition is also crucial, so they'll be confident in their bodies to dominate at both ends of the floor. Rajakovic is already working toward next season. He says he has about half of his first team meeting prepared.
The WNBA and Bell Media have announced a multi-year agreement to broadcast and stream games in Canada, beginning with the 2026 season. As part of the deal, Bell Media will be the official media partner of the Toronto Tempo. The deal will see coverage of the team as well as other WNBA matchups, the league's draft, All-Star Game, and playoffs. A select number of Tempo games will also air here on CTV and stream on Crave. The schedule will be announced later this season. CTV News is a division of Bell Media.
The odds aren't great, but Leaf fans are hoping their team can come away from tonight's NHL draft lottery with the #1 pick. The Buds have an 8.5% chance of selecting first overall in the June entry draft, or perhaps second because there will be 2 draws tonight. If not, attention turns to whether Toronto will keep its top 5 pick. The Leafs have the 5th selection now, but if any team below them in the draft order wins one of the 2 draws, Toronto will have to send their 5th pick to Boston as part of a trade deal in 2025. At 18.5%, Vancouver has the best odds to get the first selection.
Still to come on CTV News at noon, a Toronto woman is seeking an exemption for medically assisted death. We'll have more on her legal battle when we come back.
Craving a sweet, dairy-free treat? Well, this vegan ice cream spot serves up creamy, dreamy, and inventive plant-based flavors. Come inside with me as we get the real scoop and find out what's on the menu. From mint chip to Easter cream, these house-made ice creams are out of this world. Scoop them in a gluten-free oat waffle cone, grab a pint, or indulge in a cookie sandwich. Pure plant-based bliss. Okay, Ashley, anyone who's been watching me over the last 2 decades of broadcasting knows that ice cream is either my kryptonite or my superpower, so I'm very excited for this assignment. Tell me about Honey's Ice Cream. How do you differentiate yourself from other ice cream places in the city?
Well, Honey's is a dairy-free ice cream shop. We're just kind of a neighborhood hub. I think it's the best ice cream in Toronto,
awesome.
but it's absolutely the best dairy-free ice cream.
And coconut and cashew are just such creamy substitutes to begin with, so I can't wait to try this. So what have you brought out here? What are some of the variety of things you sell here at Honey's?
We make our own cream eggs in-house.
Oh, wow. Okay, it's tasting time. Oh, it's so soft.
Mm-hmm. Nice little sugar rush.
Wow, that's really good. I shouldn't be surprised, but wow. Okay, so what is this?
Okay, so this is our cookies and cream ice cream sandwich.
Wow.
We make fresh chocolate chip cookies, and then we have a cookies and cream ice cream inside, which we also make our own in-house Oreos for.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's beautiful.
Thank you.
That's really good.
Sugar Rush City today.
Stop filming me. With every bite bursting with flavor, this vegan ice cream spot proves that plant-based can be both indulgent and unforgettable. Full details at cp24.com.
A Toronto woman is asking the province's top court for emergency relief to receive a medically assisted death, or MAID. Claire-Elise Brosseau and the advocacy group Dying with Dignity have filed a charter challenge, arguing that MAID's exclusion of people whose sole underlying condition is a mental illness is a violation of charter rights. The 49-year-old says she's also seeking a constitutional exemption that would allow to receive MAID. Brosseau lives with severe bipolar and post-traumatic stress disorders.
The federal government's return to work mandate has entered a new phase.
Executives are no longer allowed to work from home, which has raised questions about whether there is enough office space. CTV's Dylan Dyson reports.
Federal employee Andrew Cormack isn't an executive in the government, but he's at the office regardless.
Yeah, I choose to come in 3 days a week right now, following kind of like the official ruling.
As of Monday, all executives in the public service are required to work in the office 5 days a week as the federal government continues to call its employees back to the workplace, citing a need to boost collaboration and culture.
I think everyone works differently, but you got to look at the value added coming into the office and whether it's there for you or not.
The return to office mandate will see more than 9,300 executives back in the office full time. In a statement, the Association of Professional Executives of the Public Service of Canada says executives are concerned about the lack of office space and the pressure of leading employees during continuous workplace change. As of July 6th, all other federal employees will be required to work in the office 4 days a week, up from the current 3 days.
I rarely personally see, I do interact with people at the office, but it's a very minimal basis. And the majority of my time collaborating with my teammates is just through Teams.
For me, I think 3 days a week, 2 days a week would be a happy medium. 4 days might be overkill, but that's just my personal experience.
The push to bring workers back to the office creating concerns over desk space and parking.
Mentally preparing for it, not excited about it, but I know it's happening.
I think one thing I'm not for is an umbrella, one-size-fits-all kind of approach to RTO.
Dylan Dyson, CTV News.
Still to come, home sales in the GTA rose in April. We'll have the latest on the housing market when we come back.
Get Toronto's top stories, breaking news alerts, and watch live. Download the CTV News app.
Home sales in the GTA rose 7% in April. The Toronto Regional Real Estate Board says sales were up on a year-over-year basis for a second straight month. The average selling price was down 4.9% compared to last year at just over $1 million. However, inventory was also down 6.4% with about 25,000 active listings in the GTA.
I think it's a real decision-making process. And so on the one hand, if you own a home and you're saying, hey, home prices are lower, mortgage rates are lower, so maybe I could parlay that into, say, a larger home, nicer neighborhood, whatever the case may be. But at the same time, you have a certain price point that you want to hit. And so if it doesn't look like you're going to get that and you don't need to sell your home for any other reason, then you're just going to stand pat. And that's kind of that market mechanism where as we start to see sales increase and perhaps listings are trending a little bit lower, it provides a little bit more market tightness, a little bit more competition between home buyers, and ultimately that'll provide some support for price. So we'll initially see prices, flatline, and then they'll start to edge upwards as people move into the marketplace.
Treb says fewer than 6,000 homes were sold in the GTA last month. Well, from Beyonce to Sabrina Carpenter and Canada's own Hudson Williams, Met Gala guests didn't hold back this year.
They showed up in costumes that turned the fashion is art dress code into a full-on showcase. CTV's Andrea Case has the story.
The Met Gala is the annual fundraising event for the Metropolitan Museum of Art's Costume Institute. This year, billionaire Jeff Bezos and his wife Lauren Sanchez Bezos reportedly donated $10 million to the cause and were named honorary chairs of the event. But that solicited protests and sparked calls from critics to boycott the Met Gala over wealth inequity and workers' rights. That said, the night was an unprecedented success, raising a record $42 million. The theme celebrating fashion is art, and many understood the assignment. Chase Infinity arrived in an optical illusion by designer Tom Brown. It was crafted out of 1.5 million sequins. Tiana Taylor in a head-to-toe silver fringe that was made to look like it was melting in a ghost of a body. Olympic medalist skier Eileen Gu's dress was made up of 15,000 bubbles. And yes, some of them were let loose. A surprise appearance by Blake Lively, who just hours before settled a lawsuit with co-star Justin Baldoni. Beyoncé made it a family affair. She was one of the night's co-chairs, and for the first time, her daughter, Blue Ivy, attended on the arm of her father, Jay-Z. Madonna, who's about to release a new album, was attended to by 7 people helping to carry her dress. And rising star Jafar Jackson, who stars in the biopic Michael as his uncle, Michael Jackson, was a first-time attendee. Katy Perry attended without boyfriend Justin Trudeau, and heated rivalries Connor Story struck a pose, as did his co-star Hudson Williams. The two will be back to work soon on the 2nd season of the Crave series, which made them stars. Andrea Case, CTV News.
An Etobicoke man is now $1 million richer. The OLG says Emmanuel, they don't release last names anymore, matched all 7 encore numbers in exact order in the March 11th Ontario 49 draw. The winning ticket was sold at a Shoppers Drug Mart on Burnhamthorpe. Now, the 61-year-old who works as a pastry maker says he was sitting at his kitchen table with his mother when he found out he won. He says he plans to share his winnings with his brother, travel to Newfoundland and Labrador, and save for retirement.
Coming up, quick thinking under pressure. 3 young people recognized as heroes for their speedy calls to 911.
Ottawa's recognized 3 young people who took action when it mattered most.
They each received an award for calling 911 and following instructions to the letter. CTV's Josh Morano reports.
When 11-year-old Kaylee Nathu's grandfather fell and hit his head, she knew she needed to act fast and be brave.
When you're calling 911, don't hesitate. You just have to do it.
On the other line, a dispatcher who helped Nathu stay calm and asked questions before help arrived.
They're explaining to me what to do and to get a cloth to put on my grandpa's head to put on the cut.
She was calm, cool, and collected, like a lot of people are not in that kind of situation. But she followed the directions very well.
A scary situation for Nathu until first responders arrived, but her parents say they're proud their daughter knew who to call.
She was able to call 911 and she knew she needed to help, so we're so proud of her that she was able to do that.
That bravery being recognized by the city at the Children's 911 Achievement Awards, honoring Nathu, 12-year-old Chrisley Dana Julsain, and 11-year-old Reem Alamad Alassan for their quick thinking during an emergency.
I was pretty scared and nervous, but I decided to stay calm.
Julsain called after her cousin fainted while at a birthday party.
They were telling me like instructions and telling me like what to do, and then I was following and listening closely so I could actually save her life.
And Alamad Alassan dialed 911 after she noticed her 5-year-old sister having trouble breathing.
My sister has an asthma.
Staying on the phone with paramedics, translating for her mother.
My English has improved and like I know what to say all the time. I'm gonna like answer all the questions so easily.
The award recognizes youth ages 12 and under who effectively used 911 in a crisis.
They were also not only able to call 911, but to tell us where they are, what is going on, answer our dispatchers' questions.
Nathu hopes her bravery will help other kids if they need to call 911 in an emergency.
If you don't call, maybe they can't get the help that they need or that you need, and you need to call so you can get the right help.
Josh Morano, CTV News.
Great lesson. You never know when there could be an emergency.
I had to call 911 one time, and I was shocked at how horrible I was. I wasn't composed. It was more stressful than I thought. So I'm amazed by those kids.
Yeah, amazing kids. And maybe a great moment for everyone watching today to maybe go over a couple of lessons with their kids at home, too. I know I'm going to do that. I'm also perhaps going to keep my umbrella handy for the rest of the day today and probably tomorrow as well. Let's take one more look at the satellite and radar. We can see the rain now pushing into areas like Grand Bend, inching now into the Chatham-Kent area. Still a little ways away from us here in the GTA, but by the end of the afternoon, we expect some wet weather, and we certainly are forecasting periods of rain for some through the overnight hours tonight. There's tomorrow at a glance, some leftover showers expected. 12 degrees is the forecast high, so this is a little bit cooler than we've been the last couple of days. And as you can see, we remain cooler than normal through to the end of this work and school week. 17 degrees is the average average temperature this time of year, so we're below that with some wet weather returning on Friday. Even Thursday, I see signs of the possibility of a pop-up shower in the afternoon, but that day we should also be able to enjoy a little more in the way of sunshine. Let's take a look at your 7-day forecast. A slight improvement when it comes to temperatures into the weekend. Right now it looks like we should have some sun on Saturday. There's a chance of a few showers that day too. And then right now Sunday's looking a little more unsettled than it was looking yesterday. A high of about 14 degrees for Mother's Day. Let's see if Mother Nature can help us out with that forecast. Looks like some brighter skies as we kick off the early part of next week. Nathan and Michelle.
All right, thank you, Lindsay. And that's it for CTV News at noon. Remember, you can get Toronto's breaking news all day long on CP24 and at ctvnewstoronto.ca.
For Lindsay Morrison and all of us here, have a pleasant afternoon. I'm Michelle Dubé.
And I'm Nathan Downer. Be sure to join us later for CTV News at 5.